Welcome to Political News Club, the channel where we dissect the biggest political scandals and uncover the truth behind the headlines. If you haven't already, make sure to like this video and subscribe because today, we're diving into a crisis that could shake the very core of Keir Starmer's leadership. His own profession, the people who understand the legal system better than anyone, are turning against him. And they're not just voicing concerns, they're calling for his resignation. Yes, you heard that right. Elite lawyers, top legal minds, and even his former colleagues are leading a full-scale rebellion against him. This isn't just another political controversy, it's an internal uprising from the very system that shaped him. Imagine a football team openly rejecting its own captain. But this isn't a game, this is about the future of Britain. For years, Starmer has built his reputation as a man of integrity, a leader deeply rooted in law and justice. His legal background was supposed to be his greatest asset, the foundation of his credibility. But now, that very background is becoming his biggest liability. His decisions are under scrutiny by those who know the law inside out, and they're baffled, frustrated, and outraged. It's as if he's operating in a parallel universe where logic and justice no longer apply. Legal experts are dissecting his policies, examining his leadership, and they no longer recognize the man they once worked alongside. And they're not staying silent. Some of the most respected figures in the legal profession, people who have dedicated their lives to upholding justice, are openly condemning his leadership. These aren't political rivals looking to score points. These are his former allies, colleagues who once shared courtrooms with him, now declaring him unfit to lead. And let's be honest, when your own profession turns against you, it should be a wake-up call. But Starmer, he's sleepwalking through this crisis, oblivious to the gravity of what's happening. He's not just making poor decisions, he's betraying the very principles he once claimed to uphold. The legal profession isn't just another career, it's about justice, integrity, and accountability. It's about standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult. Yet, Starmer has abandoned those ideals. The irony is staggering. Here's a man who built his career on holding others accountable, and now he's the one under fire. The verdict from his peers is clear, he's failing. And if he can't even retain the respect of the legal world, how can we trust him to run the country? This isn't just about a group of lawyers being upset, this is about whether Britain's Prime Minister has the judgment, competence, and moral compass to lead. And make no mistake, this crisis isn't fading. Every day, more legal professionals are coming forward, the backlash is intensifying, and the calls for his resignation are growing louder. Now, what does this mean for the average Brit? The hard-working people who are just trying to get by while Westminster continues its usual games. Think of it this way, would you trust a doctor who had been completely disowned by the medical profession? Of course not. So why should we trust a Prime Minister who has lost the confidence of his own field? If the legal world deems him incompetent, why should the rest of us feel any differently? And this isn't just about perception, this has real consequences. A weak leader in number 10 means bad decisions, unstable policies, and a government detached from reality. Starmer thought his legal background would protect him, that his career as a prosecutor would make him untouchable. But now, the very people he once worked with are dismantling his reputation. So what happens next? The pressure is mounting, and the calls for him to step down aren't just coming from his political opponents, they're coming from within the system itself. When your own allies start turning on you, you know you're in serious trouble. Yet, Starmer refuses to acknowledge the crisis. Instead of addressing concerns head-on, he's doubling down, pretending everything is fine. But the cracks are widening, and they're only getting bigger by the day. So, let's ask the question the mainstream media won't touch. How long can Starmer survive this? How much longer before this internal rebellion forces him out? How much longer before Britain wakes up and realizes that our leader is in way over his head? One thing's for sure, this isn't over. The legal establishment isn't backing down, and the fallout from this rebellion is only just beginning. And trust me, we'll be keeping a close eye on this. So if you want the latest updates on political scandals, cover-ups, and the stories the mainstream media won't tell you, hit that subscribe button now. And don't forget to leave a comment below. Do you think Starmer can survive this crisis, or is this the beginning of the end? Let us know your thoughts. Stay tuned, because this could be the downfall of Keir Starmer's leadership as we know it. Sir Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party and former Director of Public Prosecutions, has found himself at the centre of an intense legal storm. A group of top lawyers, many of whom once stood by him, are now speaking out in ways that have shocked both political and legal circles. Their demand is not just an ordinary political disagreement, it's a direct challenge to Starmer's policies, leadership style, and, most significantly, his handling of the justice system. This rebellion is not just about policy. It's about principles, ethics, and the future of Britain's legal landscape. At the heart of this uprising is a deep sense of betrayal felt by legal professionals who once admired Starmer for his legal expertise and commitment to justice. Many barristers and solicitors believed that having a former top lawyer as the leader of a major political party would ensure a fairer and more balanced approach to legal reforms. But instead of reinforcing judicial independence and strengthening legal institutions, they argue, Starmer has taken positions that undermine the very principles he once championed. This disillusionment has grown to such an extent that many prominent legal minds are now actively pushing back against him. One of the primary sources of contention is Starmer's stance on legal aid and access to justice. Lawyers across the UK have been protesting against the chronic underfunding of legal aid, a problem that has left many vulnerable people without proper legal representation. They argue that Starmer, given his background, should be leading the charge to reverse these injustices. Instead, critics claim he has remained silent or, worse, has adopted a politically cautious stance that does not challenge the status quo. This perceived inaction has infuriated many lawyers who feel abandoned by someone who should have been their strongest ally. Another major issue is the ongoing crisis in the UK's court system. Years of underinvestment have led to a backlog of cases, overwhelmed judges, and a justice system that is struggling to function efficiently. Many barristers are frustrated by the lack of firm commitments from Starmer's Labour Party to address these issues comprehensively. They argue that his leadership should be focused on making meaningful reforms to ensure that justice is not delayed, because, as the saying goes, justice delayed is justice denied. Then there's the question of human rights and civil liberties. Starmer's legal background made many believe he would be an unwavering defender of these fundamental principles. However, some lawyers accuse him of backtracking on key human rights issues in an effort to appear tough on crime and immigration. His cautious approach to controversial policies, such as those related to asylum seekers and protest rights, has led some to question whether he is prioritizing political expediency over the legal principles he once stood for. These concerns have fueled a growing movement of legal professionals who are openly questioning his credibility. Labour's approach to law and order policies has also drawn significant criticism. Starmer has sought to position his party as being strong on crime, but many lawyers fear this has come at the expense of due process and fairness. Some argue that his rhetoric is starting to mirror that of the Conservative Party, emphasising punitive measures rather than addressing the root causes of crime. This shift has alarmed those who believe in a more rehabilitative approach to justice, one that balances accountability with efforts to reduce reoffending. But the most stunning aspect of this rebellion is the direct challenge from lawyers who have previously worked alongside Starmer. Some of them have publicly stated that they no longer believe he represents the best interests of the legal profession or the justice system. A number of high-profile barristers have even gone so far as to demand concrete policy commitments from Labour, warning that their support cannot be taken for granted. This unprecedented move has put Starmer in a difficult position. He must either respond to their demands or risk alienating a crucial segment of his professional base. What makes this situation even more extraordinary is the fact that Starmer built much of his reputation on his legal career. As a former human rights lawyer and later the head of the Crown Prosecution Service, he was widely respected for his legal acumen. But that very reputation is now being used against him, with critics arguing that he should know better than to allow these problems to persist without a strong stance. The irony is not lost on many within the legal community. The broader political implications of this legal rebellion are also significant. Starmer has worked hard to present himself as a responsible and electable alternative to the Conservative government, but this unrest within the legal profession could undermine that image. If he cannot maintain the confidence of those who understand the justice system best, how can he convince the public that he is the right person to fix it? This is a question that his critics are now pushing hard. Moreover, this revolt is not just confined to legal professionals, it is beginning to resonate with the wider public. Many people are deeply concerned about the state of the UK's justice system, and the fact that top lawyers are now openly rebelling against Starmer only adds fuel to the fire. His opponents are using this moment to question his leadership and his ability to deliver real change. The timing of this rebellion is also crucial. With the next general election looming, Starmer cannot afford to alienate key professional groups. Legal professionals may not be the largest voting bloc, but their influence extends far beyond their numbers. Their opinions shape public discourse, influence policy debates, and carry weight in the media. If this dissatisfaction continues to grow, it could have serious consequences for Starmer's electoral prospects. Some legal professionals have gone beyond criticism and are now actively organising to demand change. There are growing calls for Labour to put forward a clear and ambitious plan to fix the justice system. Lawyers want to see real investment in legal aid, a genuine commitment to upholding human rights, and an overhaul of the court system to reduce backlogs and delays. If Starmer fails to address these demands, he risks not only losing the support of legal professionals but also damaging his credibility as a leader who understands justice. Perhaps the most shocking aspect of this situation is how quickly things have changed. Not long ago, many in the legal profession saw Starmer as a potential champion of their cause. Now, some of those same individuals are among his most vocal critics. This dramatic shift highlights the extent of their frustration and the urgency of the issues at hand. The question now is how Starmer will respond. Will he acknowledge the concerns of these top lawyers and take meaningful action? Or will he continue to walk the political tightrope, trying to appease different factions while avoiding firm commitments? His next moves will be closely watched, not just by those within the legal profession but by the entire country. For now, the rebellion of top lawyers against Starmer remains one of the most unexpected political developments in recent times. Their demand for action is clear, and their dissatisfaction is not something he can afford to ignore. Whether this moment marks a turning point in his leadership or simply another challenge to navigate remains to be seen. What is certain, however, is that this legal revolt has sent shockwaves through British politics, shockwaves that could have lasting consequences.